Well, hello guys. Welcome back to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler, and today we have the Boker Roundhouse. Alright guys, so this is the Boker Roundhouse, and this is a unique knife because this is something that I got in a bundle when I purchased it off of Reddit. And I was really gunning for the QSP Pelican, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I love the Pelican. But this was kind of a part of the package. I'm like, yeah, screw it, I'll get another knife to review. And guys, probably if I had to vote a sleeper knife of the past 2 months that surprised me the most, not since it came out, but just in the past 2 months, definitely this knife, full disclosure. So, and it does have its flaws, don't get me wrong. But we have some contoured, very nice carbon fiber scales going on all around here. We have this pocket clip that you might think is titanium. It is not. It is stainless steel, but it looks a hell of a lot like titanium. We have some very, very thick scales, or thick liners here with no milling on the inside. These things are solid. And then we have this bronze-colored, or brass, copper-colored pivot collar right here. And just minimal hardware. It just goes right down the center and it blends in really nice. This carbon fiber has a very nice texture to it. Same thing with this side. It's like it has a very nice texture. It's textured enough to feel good in hand. And it's kind of basic. You got your barrel spacers going on here. You got your stop pin in the back. You have some light jimping right here. And then moving on up to the blade, we have a swedge that goes the full length of the blade with almost a full flat grind coming on down the blade for a very weird looking grind on here. I haven't looked this up, but you guys see how large that secondary grind is? Yeah, I'm not really sure what that's all about. I'm not sure that the knife came with that. I should just pin up another knife right here over it. Now, let's do that. What I'll do is I'll try to get a picture of one and pin it through so you guys can see kind of the difference in grinds to see if this is coming from the secondary, because you can tell somebody kind of screwed up right down here around the swedge, or not the swedge, the sharpening choil, but it's not a big deal. This thing still surprised the hell out of me. Now, obviously, this is a Boker Plus design. This is D2. That is going to be one of those turn-off moments, especially once you guys hear the price. But this is also a design with Lorien Arnold. They are a Canadian knife maker, I believe. So as this is a liner lock, this also is on bearings. And this is kind of your no frills, just really high quality feeling piece. With these contoured scales, the ergonomics of this guy are amazing. This feels so good that at one point in time, this almost replaced my copperhead. It didn't, because I think I already traded this guy off just because I don't have a place for it in my rotation or anything like that. But for a short period of time, I thought it was going to be the guy. And it only got bumped just because I'm kind of snobby and got into some higher stuff that I prefer to carry other than this. But this thing is freaking awesome. T6 screws and then a T8 pivot. Wah, wah. But like I said, there's no frills about this other than this D2. Even this pocket clip, fat and huge, just kind of fits the design. I don't know that I've seen a pocket clip in the recent history on carbon fiber that just fits the design so well, that feels unique. You know, you can go to the Spydercos and they slap something on there, you know, the typical Spyderco, you get an MXG deep carry clip, call it a day. This just looks good. Now, before we get into the specs, I have to say, this thing is $95. $95, guys. Now, with all of that being said, do I think it's worth it? Wait till the end of the review and find out. But there's a lot of really good going for this, and I think really what you're paying for is these really nice contoured carbon fiber scales with this pocket clip that looks sweet. Even though it's not titanium, it's a unique pocket clip. I don't think this is like one of their just, hey, take this off the line on Boker and throw it on something else. Could be wrong. One thing that confounds me, but I think is a design choice, is the fact that these scales are completely solid. The reason I think this is a design choice is because it just feels like a beast of a knife already. Like, it feels like it's supposed to be a beastly knife. You guys can see there. Completely solid. Trying to get you guys. There you go. completely solid scales. So realistically, this thing's a tank, and it's exciting. Like, there's something really, really cool about this. This is a flipper, and one of my downsides to this, which I'll get into the dislikes, I kind of jump around, I guess, is this flipper tab shape is cool, but it does not lend itself to light switching. That moment that MC was talking about where he says, you know, when you go to flick something and you miss and it hits these liners that are kind of sharp on the inside, like, it does kind of hurt, and it both pride and you're like, that's not cool. But if you use the push button method, you're not going to have that issue, and it opens up just fine. The action is not the greatest. This isn't the most perfect, drop shut open action, and because I just like the way this feels in hand so much, I really overlooked that in most of my time carrying this knife. One last thing that really lends itself to the ergonomics here that I forgot to mention is this curved handle. Sometimes when they curve a handle, it doesn't feel right. This thing feels oh so right. This feels good. And I'm squeezing hard and it just feels really good. I don't feel any hot spots on this knife. All right, guys, let's get into some specifications. We'll go into some size comparisons. We will go into a recap and then my overall thoughts. So, the overall weight on this monster, I'm going to guess 4.8. Let's see where we're at. 5.8. Holy smokes. 5.7 ounces. That's what I'm talking about, guys. This is not a lightweight knife. Once again, it doesn't feel extremely heavy or tankish in the hands, but it definitely feels heavier than a lot of stuff that some of us are used to carrying. The overall length of this guy coming in at a whopping 8.5 inches, about 8.25 inches. The blade length's coming in at 3.5, and your cutting edge is coming in at slightly over 3.5 because of the way the blade comes all the way down just a little bit past there with the angle there. Let's get the good old calipers out here. So the blade stock thickness is coming in at 130 thousandths. That's not too shabby. Now the behind the edge thickness here, this is going to be a weird one to get because of that huge secondary grind, but let's see where we're at. The behind the edge thickness is showing 40 thousandths, and I don't think that's a fair assessment considering how large that secondary grind is. To put that into perspective, here's a Civivi Brigand, right? Look at that secondary grind versus this secondary grind. So the behind edge thickness on this one's really not right because it's going so far up, which is okay. And again, I really got to find out. I should have looked at that. Is this somebody else's work that did this? I mean, they put a pretty good edge on there, but it just looks odd. I think this is somebody else's work. I'll have to show a picture of one other one. So don't follow the behind the edge thickness on this because that doesn't count. That's a BS measurement right now. And despite all that, I still freaking love this knife. This thing's coming in at a height of 1.4 inches, and the overall thickness in your pocket is coming in at almost 0.6 or 600 thousandths. Once again, to put that into perspective, the average size thickness in your hands is about 0.5 or half of an inch. So this thing really lends itself to an ergonomic, just beastly style knife. Since we've already shown the Civivi Brigand, here is your Civivi Brigand, jumping right on into your size comparisons. As you can see, this is much larger than the Civivi Brigand and the Civivi Elementum. Probably put together, it could probably eat both of their children. Here is your Civivi, or your CJRB Feldspar. Here is your mini Feldspar. Fun fact, when I first started reviewing knives, I used to call it CRJB, and I did that for about 3 videos before Justin, I think, jumped in there and was like, bro, it's actually CJRB. And it took me a while to get that. That was kind of embarrassing. I think I deleted one of the videos. I didn't even talk about which one's the size. I mean, this thing's obviously larger than both. Here is your Spyderco Shaman and your Spyderco Astute. Now, the Shaman is a very, very great comparison knife for this because while this thing kind of felt like the poor man's Super Freak at first, it really lends itself a lot to the Shaman. I mean, the sizes are the exact same. You get a lot of the same contouring effects. Now, the Shaman has this nice rounded edge up top, whereas this kind of kicks down like a little roundhouse kick to your face. But it's, to me, if I had to pick a non-Spyderco that is similar to the Shaman and you wanted to go a little bit cheaper and is awesome, I mean, because the Shaman's awesome, this is where this thing falls. I really do believe this thing is like a poor man's Shaman, and some people may try to kick me in the teeth for saying so, because it does remind you of a lot of other knives, but the qualities that I appreciate in this are very, very similar to the Shaman's. Here is your Rat Model 1 and your Rat Model 2. As you can see, it's just about the same length as your Rat Model 2. Or Rat Model 1, sorry. Now to give you some overall size comparisons here, we have, overall stats. Kids screaming, I can't think. So we have this copper-colored, they call it copper color, I'm assuming it's copper steel, carbon fiber that is very nicely textured and very nicely contoured. The edges aren't really knocked down, but they don't really need to be with this carbon fiber. They still feel nice and soft. Same thing on this other side. And we have the stainless steel pocket clip that is milled specifically for this knife, if I'm not mistaken. And it fits the design so well. It does work just like a normal pocket clip. There's nothing special about the function of this guy. It's not deep carry. Look, you have a lot of the knife sticking out of your pocket. But guys, I'm telling you, like, you got to get this thing in hand. I scoffed just because of the name Boker. I'm a little biased. I'm like, Boker, whatever. But no. Some barrel spacers going on back here. And that's really about it for the handle. We have some jimping up here on the spine of the blade. The blade is not knocked down. It does kind of cut you. Not cut you, but it'll take a little bit of your nail off. With a swedge that runs almost 3/4 the length of the blade, and a flat grind that goes almost the full length of the blade, coming down to what I would like to say is an arrow edge, but now that I'm looking at this, I think somebody put some stupid ass edge on here that I need to let the guy know that I'm trading for this. I don't think that's right. Yeah. But the action on this is decent, but not great, and it's a push button action. You're not going to want to light switch this because it will hurt your fingers. But I really do think that it's meant to be a push button as opposed to a light switch. I mean, it actually, as the more I do it like that, the more it feels natural. So what are my dislikes? Let's start off with the dislikes. Let's end on a good note, because you guys already know that I really like this guy. I just mentioned it. The action, the flipper, it's just kind of weird, you know? It's hefty. This is a hefty boy. 5.7 ounces is that kid that once you find out that your wife's about to give birth and the kid turns out to be 11 pounds, you're like, oh no. She's like terrified. That's what this guy's like. He's just a monster. And then I guess the last dislike is the price. For $95, it's a hard pill to swallow, just like the Bestech Bison. Corey lent me the Bestech Bison at one point in time, and it was a fantastic knife, and I loved it. And I'm like, damn, dude, this thing's sweet. You look at D2 and you immediately assume $60. You immediately assume no more than $70, right? Well, this is coming in at $95. The Bestech Bison was like $110. And you can't hate on it for that if you can appreciate the other factors. Realistically, I really truly believe that you're paying for this contoured carbon fiber scales. I can't see why. It feels really, really good. And this pocket clip I thought was titanium. I'm not mad that it's not, because it looks really good and it's really, really well done. Let's get into the likes, because I just kind of went on this. Contoured handles. The blade, I mean, for a full flat grind, this thing's pretty darn slicey, despite having this weird edge that I might have not even noticed. I was just wondering, I'm like, man, Boker, you guys do some weird shit. But I'm starting to really, really think, because I got this from the secondary market, that somebody was tweaking with this. The ergos are another like. Ugh, yeah. This thing feels really, really good in hand. I can't get over that, and I can't stress that enough, despite the way it just feels good. And last but not least, something that I really appreciate for this is the heft. Yes, I said it, both of my likes and dislikes. It's very, very heavy, but in hand, you know it's there. It's substantial. You guys know that I like my substantial knives in hand and the feeling of that. So can I recommend this knife for $95? That's a hard call. If you can mentally get over D2 for $95, I think this is one of the best $95 knives that I've come across in quite some time, and probably the most surprising knife in hand, and I just absolutely love it. Yeah, I can recommend it for $95. I don't think you're going to be mad about it. Don't expect perfect. Like I said, the flipper and stuff like that, it's not perfect. You got to get used to that push button feel, but it's different, and the more I do it, I feel like it's meant to be like that. but the carbon fiber feels so good. This is probably my favorite carbon fiber that I've ever felt on a knife, with the contouring and everything. It doesn't feel cheap, it just feels nice. Yeah. This thing is a diamond in the rough, and by all means, a very, very hard. What? By all means, I slept on this knife, very much so, until I got it in hand and said, oh. Alright guys, that's all I got for you today. My name is Tyler, this is the Boker Roundhouse. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, have a great freaking day guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. It genuinely means a lot. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. If you didn't like it, give me some feedback in the comments below and hit the thumbs down button. In case you guys don't know, I do have a Patreon, which will be listed right here. In that Patreon, we're giving bi-monthly giveaways to just the Patreons based on the number of Patreons that we have in the Patreon. We will also be giving discounts on all the knives that I sell based on the number of patrons. My name is Tyler. This is Everyday EDC. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, and have a great day.